Good morning and welcome to the next video in the Q&A series with Major General VPS Bhakuni, who is a former commandant of the Selection Center South in Bangalore and is a leading expert when we talk about the selection matters in the armed forces. Now today we have very interesting questions for our guest speaker and we would request him to kindly enlighten us on these issues. The questions are as follows. Are our armed forces the most popular career option, or is it the least popular career option for the youth? Do we neglect our armed forces and our national security? Is awareness about the armed forces lacking, particularly in South India? And why we Indians have a poor sense of history? I would request our guest speaker to kindly enlighten us on these issues. Over to General Bhakuni.
Good morning once again. Good morning, sir. Good, that's a better answer. You know, wherever I go on such kind of awareness program about the armed forces, various colleges, various universities, I usually ask them, my first question is, how many wants to join the armed forces? Here, I'm not going to ask this question because I know you are all candidates for the armed forces, and can you believe, particularly in South India, the situation is entirely different what it is in the north. And out of a whole class of about say 300 to 400 or sometimes even 600, just a couple of hands are raised very reluctantly for the armed forces. I've seen that in the Christ University very recently, Satyasai Sai University where I have been last, and various other colleges. The response is usually more or less the same. And those are the candidates who are generally wards of the army officers, either some relation or usually son or someone. They are the volunteers. But among the general public, I think the awareness is so much lacking. There is hardly any volunteers on his own who wants to prepare for the armed forces and join the armed forces. That is the case in the south. And in the north, the situation is entirely different. Like I was General Officer commanding Bareilly Division. Before I came as Commandant Services Selection Center, there, wherever you go, my God, 70 to 80% hands will be raised that we want to join the armed forces. And after I give my talk in the south, then towards the end, I ask the same question again. And I find at least 60 to 70% of the hands thereafter are raised, because some awareness has been created. I have been able to convey to them what armed forces exactly are and what it provides, the quality of life it gives you, I think by far the best life. And then there is some motivation to join the armed forces. And my second question, which I am going to ask you also, is usually out of the various career options open to a person now, you know, whether it is engineers, doctors, civil services, corporate, or for that matter any other service career option open to them, where does the armed forces figure in popularity? What do you think is the most popular service for youth in the country today? Here I would like your answer. Yeah, what do you think? How many think civil services is the most popular option? Raise hands. No. And how many thinks doctors or engineers, such kind of technical service is the most popular service? Raise hand. Yeah, there is one. Most popular. Okay. How many thinks armed forces is the most popular option? Yeah, good. It's still down. And here you all guys are, you know, preparing for the armed forces. That's the reason you are here, I suppose. And yet you saw that around 30 to 40% people only raise the hands that armed forces, there is a big doubt whether it is the most popular option or not. You are coming here as a job option, but you do not consider it is the most popular option. But I am going to clear number of myths which are prevailing in the society, which people are really not aware of. And I'm going to support those with facts and figures. It is not my own kind of story which I'm trying to motivate you through, but since I was privy to so many facts and figures, and they are in open domain, they are in the, you just have to Google it out and you'll find that. I will touch upon those facts and figures a little later. And tell me, no prompting, how many of you recognize this photograph? Raise hands. I know some people will be knowing it. Good. Yeah, tell me, what is it about?
Window Pakwa. It is the surrender of Pakistan army to the India.
You all are partially right. Yes, it is the 1971 war. The greatest war India ever fought. And you can imagine, after perhaps the Second World War, this was the biggest war ever fought by India. I think such a huge armed forces were never mobilized after the Second World War. And in this, 1 lakh soldiers of the Pakistan army surrendered to our country. And we as Indians, see, you guys are youths and you do not know such a great historical fact of significance, where India won a huge war, created a country, took 1 lakh prisoners, but yet we are unaware of it. The greatest glory of our country we do not know, the surrender ceremony. It was December 1971, and the players are Lieutenant General Jagjit Singh Arora, who was the GOC in C, General Officer Commanding in Chief, Eastern Command, and along with that is the Pakistan Army Chief, who was heading the operation in Bangladesh, Lieutenant General Niazi. So this is such a, and this shows, and a couple of more things which I will touch upon, shows that we are absolutely ignorant about our history. The armed forces gets neglected. They are not armed properly, they are not trained properly, the volunteers do not come up from the society because nobody bothers about them. And at the same time, the national security consciousness lacks in the country. So that results ultimately the aggressor coming from outside, and you are not able to stand in front of them. Why go far? I will give you the example of 1962, the greatest debacle in our history. The most humiliating defeat we had in 1962 against China. What happened? After independence, we were not bothered about the national security. Not bothered about the soldiers. You must have read number of stories in Ladakh, our soldiers fought in the summer clothing. They did not have even good warm clothing to fight. And they did not have the right weapon to fight. So you have to have a matching equipment status vis-a-vis the enemy. And we had a debacle. What a national shame it was. But just after about 10 years, 9-10 years, in 1971, I told you we had the greatest victory, because after that the government paid total focus to this and the governance was good and there was a cohesion between the government. Whole credit goes to Indira Gandhi and Field Marshal Maneksa. Seen that? And that resulted into such a ultimate victory for our country. So this is what I wanted to tell you before we proceed further. We must have a sense of history. So my question, do we know enough about our armed forces? I would request the youth, if you are now planning to join the army, you must be aware of the armed forces. These are basic questions which you will be asked. You can't say, it's not just like any other job. It's a profession, it's a way of life. You have to have it in you to join, be part of this great team. That motivation, passion, if it is lacking, the chances of success become that much less. This I was touching upon. Now here are the facts and figures. I said armed forces today are the most popular service. Look at it. This is the straightway from the Union Public Service Commission report. If you see, they have two criteria. One criteria of popularity of a service to judge is the number of applicants, and the second is the applicant to post ratio. Can you see, I got the reports from 2011 to 2016, now the 17 report must be online, and see the applicants for the civil services and see the applicants for the armed forces. There is always a difference of 3 to 5.5 lakh. You can imagine such a vast difference. And interestingly, I will show you the population which is available in the society for the armed forces, because of the age limit being less, is much less, and their age limit, which I will show you, from 21 to approximately 37 for the scheduled caste, 35 for the OBCs, and thereafter for the normal people. A very vast population is available, yet the number of applicants is much less. See this, another years, you can see 2015-16, the difference is virtually 5 lakh, and eligible population is approximately 4 to 5 times. Why? I told you that because of the age gap. Now, the second reason to know the popularity of a service is the applicant to post ratio. Look where the army stands, it is way ahead. And in the south, you people think that armed forces is not a popular service. Once I show these figures in various colleges, 3 times I have lectured in the Christ University, and the people get surprised, sir, we never knew about it. And that's the reason a lot of people raise hands thereafter, towards the end of the talk. Look, the applicant to post ratio, distinctly ahead armed forces. Now, see the age. General category for civil services is 21 to 32, OBC 35, scheduled caste 37. Okay, number of attempts is also different. So, population available is far more, and yet the number of applicants is much less. And which is the most difficult exam in the country? Can anybody tell me? UPSC. Which UPSC? CDS? Yeah. SSB. Yes. SSB is not a UPSC exam. Anyway, yeah. SSB is part of the process. There is a written, there is a thing. You can say either NDA, you can say CDS, you can say some other this thing. CDS. Yeah. Anyone? JE. Okay, that is there. Okay. Here I got the facts and figures of one particular exam, and you'll be surprised. The Armed Forces NDA is the most difficult exam in the country. Look at this. NDA, this is the selection rate, 0.073%. And what is the selection rate for IIT? You said IIT. Look at this, 0.769%. And look, the civil services 0.33%. So I do not say that the NDA written exam is the most difficult. No, written exam is fairly easy, comparatively easy rather. But you know, mixing up with the interview process, civil services interview process is just half a day. Our interview process is 5 days, and it's a by far most comprehensive, most detailed, and most difficult process to crack. And what is the selection rate there in the SSB? It is 3.60 out of 100 people coming for the interview. You know how many get selected? Good point. Only 4 get selected. That is the average. Look at the degree of difficulty. So that you should be aware. So you got to prepare hard for it. If you are not made for it, the chances of success becomes little difficult. So next, look at this pay and perks. I asked, you know, so many people, when I was the commandant, I took number of interviews. I found the people from the corporates now turning back to the armed forces. I have interviewed people from Infosys, from TCS, from various HCL, from number of big companies. And I used to ask them, how come you are back? And they realize, because the best of the companies, in spite of they being from the best of the schools, pays anything from maximum from 30,000 to about 60, 70,000. Look, what is the pay of the armed forces? At the young age of 21, 22, you usually become an officer. Okay, most of the officers in the armed forces become at the age of 20 and a half to about 22. All NDA people become that. CDS will become officers. Short service maybe little later. So the first pay works out to 1,18,000.